Hello and welcome to day 13, is it? Yeah, 13 of Inktober Tangles challenge. And today we have a tangle named Caserene by Susan. It's a tangle that might not really be a tangle in a traditional sense of the word because it's very representational. You need a grid to construct it. But it's hopefully quite easy to draw, and I've never done it before, but I will now. So I just want to start with, a view that shows the whole thing as it is. And I do like it, but then I will zoom in at least a little bit to start drawing it somewhere. And because it's done in a square grid, I was considering drawing a border with it, but I think I will just add a few here, and I will not add too much. I will start with 4, so I will start with this grid that is composed of 4 squares, or square-ish shapes. And this is where we start. I grabbed the wrong Micron, but I want to use my PN as always. And maybe just before I start, probably most of you know that in Zentangle, appreciation is the first step. And I just want to know that I appreciate you for, drawing with me and leaving the comments. It's very reassuring, it's very rewarding, and just so you know that I appreciate it. And to start, I will first do these straight lines, and they are maybe around 1/3 of the 1/3 of the left side of the shape, and then add one that goes a little bit, it's like raised towards the right part of the grid. After that, you add I will actually do it a little bit different than it's shown, because I feel that it will work better. It makes more sense. I might not be right. I will start with this reverse U shape that kind of is a door, an entrance into this little mansion that we are creating. And then the 4th step is to join these spots with a line, so we connected the two together. And this will still be here more like an orientation for shading, and I will not draw a solid line to it. And the last thing I will draw is a little round ending to the thing, and I will start here just above the door, and then, or above the entrance, and then go all the way to here. Something like this, and it doesn't need to be accurate, of course. So it's kind of cute how it looks like let's say a village, a row of houses. And then we still have this line that ends nowhere. So I'm going to do these lines which are connecting then again different shapes. And this is basically it. This is like a little 3D house that we drew here. And I think I'm fine with having just 4 of them here. But let's see what happens after I add shades. Maybe I will change my mind, and maybe I will want some more. You never know. So I will add shade in this part right from the line. So it's like having, oh my God, I can't remember now the English word. It's a corner. Yeah, right. A corner of the house. And I also want to add really deep, and you can even ink this in. But if you don't ink it in, if you use the pencil, then you can maybe enhance more this upper left part, which is shaded more than the lower right part. And you could certainly achieve that with other techniques. You could do some hatching or whatever, but I feel that this is quite good. And I will add shades to, or blend these shades. And I also want to blend this space where where those little houses disappear just below the Puyang that we drew before. And maybe another thing, I also want to add a little bit of shade here because it makes sense. I'm not sure if that's the part of the deconstruction, maybe not. But I imagine that that's where the shade would also, or the shadow would fall if there was sun above these little houses. And maybe it wouldn't happen right here where I'm adding shades now, but I want to kind of define where this upper part starts. And you know, it's not like getting rid of mistakes, you know, using the eraser to get rid of mistakes, but I want to get rid of these lines that I will not need. I have read somewhere, and I can't remember where, that tangles should not start with a grid that you draw before you start drawing tangles, and I know that many of us actually do that. It just helps with doing things more accurately, although that's not something that we should prioritize in Zentangle, right? I try to do things freehand as much as possible, but sometimes I like some structure, and these are very structured. So this is it, but now, because this was such a quick process, I'm thinking about adding some shades over this background part where I planted some ambler. Is it ambler? I hope it is. The tangle that we used the first day. And I want to shade it so that it is the background, and I want it to appear like it's receding in the background. So this is why I'm adding the shades now next to those lines that are dividing my tangles from each other. But I'm going to blend those graphite traces so that they go all over ambler. So I will blend them towards the middle. And another thing that I always want is my Muka to have these little smiley shaped shades. And again, if I had a smaller canvas, if I was working on a regular Zentangle tile, I would certainly rotate that style now that I'm applying and blending the shades. But because it's such a big canvas, it's kind of awkward to, or maybe my table is never big enough. It's not maybe, it's like a fact. No matter how big it is, I always cover it with supplies, and it ends up being not big enough always. It's just something that I'm trying to navigate as I draw or as I work. So now that I added some shade to this background, so basically the tangle became a background texture of sorts, I will also add some highlights to these little Caserene houses. I might also add some shade to right here between the houses and XS. And finally, my Jelly Roll 10, my trusted helper, is here to provide some shiniest highlights. So now I'm working on a little table next to the window, because I feel that because this is such a light gray background, it makes, it works best. And I'm thinking now about drawing this kind of reflected light at the bottom of Boyang, and let's see what that does. So I wanted to, I mentioned the table because it's not really a solid table, it's kind of a small foldable one next to the window so that the light is better, but you might hear some cracks from time to time, you know. So I think this is it for today. It was quick and it was fun, and tomorrow there's a new tangle, so stay tuned, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.